What's up, everybody? I'm Jeff Williams, and welcome back to the Create Your Opportunity podcast, where I sit down with individuals who I believe are real difference makers in their respective industries. During these podcasts, we'll dive into my guest's journey, learn what keeps them motivated, and see how they create opportunities for themselves, hopefully giving you, the viewers, the blueprint and the opportunity to create themselves. Now, my next guest is a former professional athlete turned entrepreneur and CEO. He went from driving down the lane to driving down Rodeo Drive. He generated over 200 million in sales volume across multiple different states, and he has founded numerous businesses throughout his career. He is a true definition of an elite agent. Please welcome my guest, Rod Watson. How you doing
Hey
today?
man, good man. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate you, opening your platform up, and look forward to having this conversation.
Nah, I mean, likewise, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy man. You have a lot of things going on. And just as a person that's in the real estate industry, as a young black professional, it's just great to talk to, learn from, and just connect with other people that look like you and people that are successful in the same industries that you're trying to be. So like I said, I appreciate you taking the time, and I know I'm gonna learn a lot from this conversation, but I hope the viewers, and I know the viewers will as well, because there's a lot of gems that I hope that we can grab from you.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. And again, congrats to you, and thanks for allowing me to be here with you today and sharing this opportunity to discuss, not just who I am, but what things I'm currently involved in and that I've accomplished through my journey in entrepreneurship and also being a licensed real estate agent. So much appreciated, and also big ups to you and what you're doing with your platform.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And just jumping into it. So you're not originally from Los Angeles. You're from Texas, Houston, Texas. And
Mhm.
I don't know much about Houston. I've only been to Texas once, but I have some friends from there. It's a big city and a lot of personalities and everything. But is it a sports city? Because I'm from the Midwest and from Indiana and Ohio. Indiana specifically is a sports state. Like there's not much to do
Yeah.
other than play basketball. So what about Houston? How big of a sports town were you was it when you were growing up?
Yeah, I mean, to answer that question, yes, I personally believe Houston is a sports city. From my early childhood days, I remember the days of Houston Rockets where you had Robert Reed, Lewis Lloyd. I remember when Hakeem was drafted and brought in. This was around '84. He was a part of that historic draft class, and it was great being able to experience that. Then you had the Houston Oilers, Earl Campbell, Love You Blue. And you had the Astros, Nolan Ryan. So I would say, yeah, Houston's definitely been one of the most prominent sports cities in America. Obviously, Los Angeles and cities like New York, they're going to take the headway, with the historic, Yankees, the Knicks, the Lakers, and I can go on and on. Dodgers. Those cities have been built around the success that their sports franchises have had. But I can say that Houston is definitely a city that I feel like we've carved ourselves a nice little niche space in the sports world, with the Rockets winning, back-to-back championships, which very few sports franchises do. Astros winning multiple World Series, and having some very historic Hall of Fame players. Even though my Oilers got shipped out by Bud Adams to Tennessee, the Love You Blue days was some definitely historic moments for the NFL, and of course Earl Campbell. So yeah, definitely Houston is, in my opinion, a sports city, and the fans are truly diehard fans there too as well. We don't flip flop, go back and forth. If you're a Rockets fan, you're a Rockets fan. If you're an Astros fan, you're an Astros fan. Now we have the Texans, and the city has fully embraced the Texans. And they love the Texans. So yeah, Houston's one of your, I think, most unique sports cities because we have our own flavor too. We bring the Southern culture with the food, the band experience, and just overall what they call Southern hospitality. So yeah, it's just definitely a sports city in my opinion.
That's cool to hear about. And unfortunately I'm not going to Houston, but I'm going to Dallas next summer. So I'm excited to just see more of Texas, kind of get some of that Southern hospitality that you're mentioning, because
Yeah,
hopefully I can just see more of the state, see more of the of Texas and get some of that. But
yeah.
kind of transitioning over to Los Angeles now. You've been out here for a while. You kind of made Los Angeles your home in a sense, with a wife of over 20 years, three daughters. The
Mhm.
term girl dad has come to fame because of Kobe and all that he's done for his daughters. But what has that experience like been for you, being a dad of three daughters? How rewarding has that been? And the any of your daughters, you mentioned your daughters getting into real estate. Did any of your daughters get into basketball or any other sports?
Yeah, well, first, to answer that question, what is it like to be a father of three daughters? I would say for me, it's been a life-changing experience. One that has, required me to really learn what it's like to, one, be a father, two, having daughters and identifying with them and always looking for ways to connect and ultimately being able to spend time with them has been probably one of the most satisfying things and gratifying things in my life. And then, of course, seeing them develop and grow, that's a blessing. And it's an opportunity that you only get to experience once in a lifetime. So it's been a very motivating experience, because as a father, you want to protect your children, you want to provide for them. You also want to put them in the best position to have the best overall quality of life that they can have. And that starts with the man. And of course, the partnership in having a wife and creating a home that allows them to grow and be nurtured. So for me, it's been a very eye-opening experience because I didn't grow up where both my mother and father were in the home. They were divorced at a very when I was young, and I don't have any recollection or memory or examples of seeing what that was like. So my wife and I, we kind of had to figure it out on the fly. But I have a great partner, a wonderful wife who has been a big supporter, and just we play our roles, and as a result our children benefit from it. So it's been good. Now, as far as any of my daughters playing basketball? No, basketball just wasn't a sport of interest. My oldest daughter, she did, however, play field hockey and lacrosse, and that's something that I think she found her own passion in that sport particularly and was interested. Even though she still doesn't play, it was great to see her at that time, get involved in the actual sport that she cared about. Just like basketball was my thing, it was my sport. It was a sport that I actually fell in love with. And then my middle daughter, she cheerleads, or she did for the last 2 seasons, and she decided that last year of high school she didn't want to. And my youngest, I've threatened her with putting her in basketball camp, and she didn't really care for that too much. So nobody's embarked in the field of basketball, but that's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to really love a particular sport to put all your time and energy and effort into it. So what I've done is just encourage them to have the freedom, meaning all three of our daughters, to pursue the things that interest them, they're passionate about, things that they will pursue for a lifetime versus something where it's just about the money or status. I've tried to convey to them, you oftentimes won't find much happiness pursuing those paths that really are fulfilling to your soul and your spirit. So it's still, at the end of the day, having your own environment that your kids can grow up in and benefit from, man, it's been living the dream. Honestly, it's a blessing.
That's great to hear. And I think you mentioned at the begin a little bit earlier. Are one of your daughters looking into doing real estate, or are they not in that industry either?
Yeah, no, actually, our oldest daughter has just acquired her license here in the state of California. So she is in the
Congrats.
process of, yeah, she's in the process of coming on board. We actually were filling out, getting her paperwork done today for her to, join our company, our brokerage, and then, she's got to join a local MLS board. So that's in the works. That's already in the process. She's worked hard, to put herself in that position or in this position. And so both, my wife and I, we're excited as well as she is. And of course, there's a lot to learn that she's going to, have to, take on those challenges just like any other person that gets their license. They have to figure it out. But the benefit for her, she doesn't have to do it alone. And that's something that I take pride in, and I'm happy to actually be a part of helping facilitate that process. But it's the beginning stages, and with this business and industry that presents so much opportunity, I'm happy to see our second generation, which is our daughter, stepping into this new opportunity of being in real estate here in California, which I think is probably one of the most sought after and best places to sell real estate if you're going to be actual agent selling.
100%. And I mean, there's one thing about creating generational wealth, but like generational opportunities and having your daughter be the second generation of real estate agents and owning that firm and everything. That's really cool to
Yeah.
just cool to see. And
Yeah.
I kind of want to transition back now, kind of I guess where the house was built in a sense for you specifically. You didn't start in real estate. You started as an athlete. So coming from Texas and moving to San Diego Christian College, that is from an outsider's perspective, before moving to California, I never heard of San Diego Christian College. Had you heard of it? And if so, like what was your knowledge of SDCC? That's what I'm gonna call it for now. Before going there.
Well, before I had even heard about any particular college as far as basketball goes, my focus was really just finding a way out of my current living situation at the time, right? And it wasn't the most stable. In fact, it was rather unstable. And so I had made I guess more or less a pact with myself that if I wanted to, you know, have the opportunities that a lot of my peers were going to have where they could, have a quality of life and pursue their passions, I knew that in order to get out of my situation, I would need to acquire a skill and be really, really good at it. And basketball became that skill set that I pursued and had a lot of success with. And so when I was in a position to go to college, I had different schools that had at around my junior going into my senior year started courting me, but these were smaller Division II or NAI schools. Weren't really any big majors. Let's just put it that way. I think at the highest, the biggest school that showed some sort of interest was University of Texas, but it was more about a walk-on opportunity, which I was still excited about. And then it was also McNeese State, and then the third was Baylor, where my brother was attending college. The unique thing about San Diego Christian, it was actually called Christian Heritage. They changed the name after I graduated, like around 2001 or 3 or 4, somewhere in that time frame. Sorry, 2004 or 5. But I had a mentor that poured into me, really helped me develop my game. He had a relationship with one of the assistant coaches, and so that coach came out and watched me play basically in an all-star classic that was hosted in Houston at the University of Rice or Rice University. And we hit it off. He happened to be a Black African American coach, which was also rare at that time to see on staff at any level. And the fact that it was a direct connection, I had a lot of I guess encouragement to know that, if I was going to go somewhere, I wanted to go where I was wanted and where I felt comfortable and where I also knew I'd have the opportunity to play. For me, the downside was that to attend any of the D1 schools that were seeking me out, I didn't have a high enough ACT score at the time. And I went and took it again and I scored high enough, but by that point, they had already given the scholarships out to who they were actually was available at that time. And so it was only walk-on opportunities at the D1 schools and no guarantee of playing opportunities, and that's just what it was. But they wanted me, of course. However, I made the decision to go somewhere where I knew I'd had the opportunity to play. I knew that there was someone there that knew someone that knew me, that I could trust that they would handle me the right way. And I took a risk, and I was also excited about leaving Texas and going to California, where a lot of my peers, they didn't want to leave the state or they wanted to stay close, like Louisiana or in the South. That didn't really matter to me that much. I wanted to get away and experience something completely different. So when I heard about the opportunity, of course, it not being Division I, I was hesitant at first, but then when I realized, okay, well, Division II still plays a lot of D1 schools, I'll still get my opportunity to pursue my dreams beyond college. It's like let's look into this further. And I took a visit, and after that, I was sold. So it was a great opportunity to position myself to be where I am today.
What was that? What was that transition like being from Texas and moving to California?
It was different, I mean, you come from a place where in the South, if those of us that have grown up or know what the South is like, it's mostly segregated. Growing up in Houston, I grew up in an era of the crack era. So being able to get outside of that environment and see something completely different, whether topography, the scenery, you got mountains, you got the ocean, you got the desert, you get snow. Like I had never experienced anything like that. And so coming here and seeing how much the sun shined and just the overall amazing atmosphere. And also the people were great. And so for me, it was kind of a culture shock, but at the same time, I felt like I adapted really well because as a kid growing up, I remember, like different brands like Ocean Pacific and Polo, different brands like that had advertised the West Coast lifestyle. And it was always something I wanted to experience. So I saw it as a great opportunity and just really just kind of like immerse myself into the whole Cali West Side, style of living. And of course, people from the South were like, "Man, you really like it out there." And I was like, "Man, I love it." So yeah, I fell in love from the first day of being here, seeing the sun come up and just, in Texas, it's hot, it's humid, it's bugs everywhere. It's the complete opposite out here. So it's a great place to live. And I found myself right at home.
It's just funny that I find it funny that you say when you got out here you loved it pretty much instantly and everything, and like your friends asking about your experience out there from Texas, asking about California and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I feel similarly when I moved from the Midwest. I've been out here for about 7 years now, and I don't ever see moving back full term. I thoroughly enjoy my life out here,
Yeah.
and what I've created. And I feel like what you just shared, you have as well. And it's cool to see that transition because I can assume Houston is very different than San Diego and just
Yeah.
California as a whole.
Yeah.
Um, and then after you spent time as a player for SDCC, you went on to coach at Point Loma. I don't want to butcher this name. Is it Nazarene?
Nazarene. Yeah. Nazarene. Yeah.
Nazarene.
Yeah.
Yeah, Point Loma Nazarene University. So you went there, earned your master's as while being a coach as well. So
Mhm.
did you plan on pursuing coaching after, or did you actually have like real estate in the back of your head at that point in time?
Yeah, good question. Well, to be honest, I didn't have a plan on either or, right? Like I just knew I wanted to play professionally, and that was the goal, that was the vision. And getting the opportunity to do that overseas, that was a limited window, right? And during that period of time, I realized this isn't the NBA. I'm not making millions of dollars. I'm not getting any, national or even local exposure where people are seeing me play. I'm in a foreign country. You know what I mean? And basketball was still new. So I at that point I started really thinking about life beyond just the game and allowing myself to really think about what did I want my life to look like. And one of the things I did is I wrote down some goals that I wanted to accomplish, after I was done playing. Getting my master's degree was one of them. The coaching was one of those unique situations that came about by way because my head coach that I played for took the job at Point Loma Nazarene, and he knew he was going to need to be able to be competitive out of the gate. And he also understood I had relationships with key players in Houston, back in Texas, and he loved like, hey, if you can get more of you kids like you, then we can have a lot of success. And so that's how the coaching came about, was basically him reaching out and asking me would I be interested in being on staff as associate head coach. And so at that point, then I was like, well, if they pay for my master's degree, I'll be happy to do it. And I'm going to take a pay cut, but in the long run, having that master's degree also gives me something in my mind at that point to, you use the term fall back on, and falling back would be coaching because that was natural to me, the game of basketball. At least so I thought, until I got into it and realized that as much as I love the game, coaching wasn't something I was overly passionate about as real estate. And so while working on my master's coaching, I started just reading the local paper in San Diego, in the business journal in the real estate section. And I started seeing all these different names of agents popping up consistently. And I went, right. And then I started looking at the market, what it costs to rent a home here, what it costs to actually own a property. And at that point, I was like, this may be a career path that I find that would be more rewarding for me. And that at that point is where the light switch went off. And then, of course, from there, everything else was just me pursuing being in the business, understanding what it took to be successful. So no, it didn't start out as a plan. It is something that I involved to, but it started initially me just writing down some goals. And one of those goals was to acquire my master's degree. And that led me to where I am today.
I mean, just achieving your goals one step at a time. That sounds like what athletes do. It's just like kind of taking that goal setting, hard work, consistency, work ethic, and just bringing that to a different industry. So I always feel like whenever I
Absolutely.
talk to athletes, that have ventured into a new industry, it seems like it's an easier, maybe not easier, a smoother transition just because they already have that work ethic that puts you in a winning situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, before I jump into the real estate side, I did want to ask you a question. I just asked you about your time in Brazil, playing professionally. What was that like? Because as a basketball fan, I feel like everybody young as a basketball fan wants to play professionally. And
Hmm.
now you started to hear about more and more players playing out of country, players
Yeah,
coming from out of country, but
yeah.
also like DeMarcus Cousins playing for different countries right now. So what was that experience like at that time, and was it as popular right then as it is now?
Yeah, that's completely another great question. Is it was a culture shock to begin with. You know, being in a third world country where the level of poverty is nowhere near what we think is poverty here in the United States. Not speaking the language, the native language there is Portuguese. However, it wasn't an enlightening experience because what I saw was that there are way more Black people on the planet than what we're led to believe, and not just I would consider Black. I would consider these individuals to be native to the land that we know as the planet Earth. Being the original first people, our reach has been, spread throughout the entire continent. And being able to be outside of the United States, where traditionally the things that we're taught from a Western standpoint of education, and I use the term indoctrination, it was an eye-opening experience to see just how far our culture reaches, the impact that it has around the globe. Now on the basketball side, basketball is kind of basketball, but the hard thing was it wasn't what it is today when you talk about guys going overseas and playing. It was more looked at as, well, you didn't make it to the league, and this is the second best thing. The G League had, it was the D League at the time. It was being discussed, but it hadn't launched. It didn't launch until like after 2001 or two. So at that point, for me, I was happy to be able to be playing and doing something that I love, but being far away from your family, and you're talking about a 15-plus hour flight to 24 hours, depending on how you choose your flight, the travel accommodations. So from that standpoint, there were times where it was lonely, because you're there on your own. I did have a teammate who played with me and that was from Brazil, so it was great to have someone that I knew and that I could identify with, and that also helped with the language barrier that was there. And of course, we had people on the team, on staff, that were basically interpreters as far as communication. But then we had boundaries, places that you can go and not go, and and it was more, to me, it was like I wasn't as adventurous as I would say I like to believe I am now. I was more like, let me just go work out, get this work in, go back to the room, eat, play video games or whatever, read a book. And that just was my monotonous routine. And I look back and I kind of regret it in some ways, because they, in some ways, tried to instill this fear that, hey, if you go out, because you have the favelas, and it was considered to be dangerous to be out around the city if you didn't know anything about the country and how to move, because they kidnap people who have considered wealth or well off. Like most of the cars, I would say back then, over 50% of the cars that the wealthy drove were bulletproof. And I wasn't really, coming from the US, that's a whole nother way of living and thinking. So they kind of in some ways instilled this fear, like you don't really want to be out exploring the city. And I kind of understand why they have to protect their asset and the players that they're paying. And there was a case prior to me being there where another player had been kidnapped and they never found him. So you have to assume he was murdered. But there was more to the story than that, that led to what took place. But being in the city was a great experience because I got to experience different cultures, but you just didn't have that global scale. We weren't on TV. There was a dial-up internet, so it just wasn't what the game is today, where people who pay abroad, their families can connect on multiple media channels and watch them and be more involved. There's more visibility. The team that owned that franchise that I played for, they were new. They were kind of still somewhat struggling, you know what I'm saying, to continually get funding, pay their players regularly and consistent. So it wasn't the glitz or the glam. For me, it was just like, hey, you get to do this and have this experience. However, I looked at it as a springboard opportunity, because when you can say, hey, I'm playing somewhere professionally, I was able to leverage that and use that as ways to open doors for myself here in the United States. So that was I think the great thing that came from it. However, looking back, I wish I would have explored the city and the state more. And that's just something at that point I was naive and not fully aware, and more or less bought into, like, stay in these areas and don't, don't venture out and just do what you're supposed to do and enjoy what you have type of mentality.
Definitely. And have you been able to go back to Brazil since your time there
No,
and
I
explore
haven't. I
more?
haven't. I haven't been back, but my daughter just went this past summer, so I had encouraged her to go visit. Not just, I didn't specifically say Brazil, but I brought up one of the places as a great country to go have that experience and see the world from a different perspective. So yeah, she went. She had an opportunity to go there with one of her friends, and it was a great experience for her. She really liked it and enjoyed her time there. And I think it was eye opening for her, just like it was for me back when I went in my early 20s. So she's 19, and I think that's a great experience for any 19-year-old to have. So I haven't been back personally. I do plan to go back. Now I just saw they changed their 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 immigration law, and now you have to have not only a passport, but you have to apply to get a visa to actually go into the country. So it is something I look to potentially do here in the near future, but no, haven't been back since I left.
Gotcha. I was just curious because, like you said, there's so much to this world. I mean, when you're traveling, there was so much stuff you didn't get to see. So, just curious
Yeah.
if you had a chance to get back. But wanted. Oh, did you were you about to say something?
But I was just gonna say, man, it's a beautiful country. Like, it is so much there that they don't even tell us about or show us, that isn't explored. They've got some amazing, just not just coastal, but inland rivers, mountains. It's a beautiful country, and the people are great. All throughout Brazil, the people are really good people.
That's what's up. As I said, I've only seen it through photos, so that's definitely on my bucket list of places to go.
Yeah.
Um, just jumping into jumping into the real estate side. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, you started on your real estate journey on the investor side, is that correct?
That's correct.
So what
Yeah.
initially you mentioned it earlier with creating your goals, kind of setting what life you wanted to see for yourself. But so as your initial attraction into real estate, how
Mhm.
big was the initial like learning curve? Because I mean you did business, you had your business degree and major, and you also like you've coached, you did basketball, but real estate is, I feel like, totally different, but also you have a lot of experience that you could probably bring into it. What was your learning curve for joining real estate?
I think the biggest thing is just learning the terminologies, the vernacular, learning the business itself, because you also have understanding terminologies like what is a mortgage, what is a land grant, or what is a interest rate, things like that. You have to understand what they mean so you can be able to communicate those specific terminologies to your clients or to individuals that you're going to be involved with. And then there's the business side, right? Learning contracts, learning how to interpret the contracts and then convey what they mean to the clients or to the marketplace. Then learn how to market yourself, brand yourself. There's a lot that you have to be able to, wrap your mind around and understand, and then be able to effectively go out and execute and then also communicate your value. So I think those were like the biggest learning curves coming into the business. I got into the business before there was actually really, the internet is what it is today. Back then, that wasn't the case. Although there was a lot of upside, I think, looking back to where we are today, because the internet is so heavily dominated by big corporations. Whereas when it was in its early infancy stages, we were able to really create, I guess, more niche type branding around the type of clients and services that we provided, and of course source the type of clients we wanted to work with. So I found that to be rather a great, unique opportunity early on. But I think the biggest is just was understanding the business and really immersing ourselves into, being able to really interpret all of the data and information that comes with being in real estate.
Yeah, I mean that it's a lot, and I mean
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. With specifically speaking to the investing side, was there like a lot of, well, I guess my question is like, what are the first steps for real estate investing? But like, were there a lot of like initial a learning curve for the real estate investing side? And if so, like
Yeah.
do you have any advice for people that want to get into like real estate investing specifically?
Yeah, I think when you get into real estate investing, you really have to figure out like what type of investing are you looking to do? What type of asset classes and understanding what those asset classes are. Asset class, you've got commercial. Within commercial, you've got different types of classes within it. You got industrial, you got retail, right? So you have to figure out, okay, what aspect of real estate investing can I afford to, invest my money in, right? And then from there, then you have to learn those asset classes, those industries, locations, again, the terminology. So I think anyone that's looking to get into real estate investing, first do your research, like I did. I researched, what residential investing was like comparison to commercial. There's different strategies. You have to understand those strategies. So there's a lot of reading and research I think that one would have to do in the beginning and not just, rely on some internet guru or just, some individual who hasn't consistently done it. And that's the second thing I would say is get around people that are actually doing it. Now you have so many case studies and so many individuals that even people that look like us that have actually had success investing in real estate, whether it be residential or be commercial, you may want to reach out to those individuals and have conversations with them if you have access to them. And if you don't, what's great now with the internet is that you can connect with people from a, text message or a DM away. And so actually getting around and also joining local investor groups or clubs is a great way to actually learn. You don't have to start out doing deals right away. Maybe take 6 months to a year to really understand what the level of investing that you're looking to get into takes, what's required. Then it's all knowledge and information. And then there's also trial and error because you're going to make mistakes. But if you can minimize your mistakes by learning and educating yourself early on, then that's going to help you have a better overall investing career. So I think it's really just about an individual learning, getting the basics down, doing their own research, and then identifying what they have to invest and again, what it will take to actually execute a plan, having a plan in place that is realistic and that will allow you to learn and grow over time, as well as your money growing as you make the sound investments and then you put strategy behind it for the long-term plays.
That makes sense. That makes so much sense. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm over here taking mental notes just because I haven't gotten to the real estate investing side yet. More
Yeah,
just a real estate agent. But that's always something that enticed me as in for
yeah,
making residual income and money while you're sleeping and that type
yeah,
of in that sense. And been talking to my parents about that. So I'm just taking
yeah,
notes on this personally. But I
yeah,
know viewers will definitely grab a lot from that. So I appreciate that.
yeah. No,
And so you mentioned you started on the investing side, but then you moved over to the agent side. What was there a reason specifically that you wanted to move over to agent side, or is just open more opportunities?
yeah, well, when investing, we were actually buying our own property. So having a license helped us also oftentimes utilize commissions, if you will, to um, save either when you're representing yourself on the listing side or if you're representing yourself on the buy side, at least in the state of Texas, we could represent ourselves and utilize that money and put that additional money towards whether it's down payment or whether it's towards remodeling, fixing up a project that we're going to bring back to the market. It just gave us more avenues and opportunities to earn more money and control the deal, if that makes sense, and have more control in the deal. And so for me, when I looked at not just being an investor, but actually obtaining a license, well, I was the investor and my wife would be the real estate agent that represented our company when making acquisitions, whether purchasing a property and then also then representing our company's interest when it came time to sell those properties. So that was the thought process behind obtaining a real estate license. So my wife got her license first. And then as I saw the real estate market changing, where we were going into more of the distressed assets, I saw that as an opportunity to earn additional income aside from just being an investor, and having access to information and data and having a real more, I guess, how can I put it, just a more interactive approach where you're talking to property owners, You're talking to people that are looking for specific types of properties. Another form of cash flow, right? You know, having a business entity where you have a real estate license and you're an investor just creates more opportunity for deals and more opportunity to make money. So that was the thought process, really, is why we pursued getting our license.
That makes so much sense. And you mentioned being in the industry prior to the real internet boom, and I was just going to say early 2000s, but I want to specifically speak about the 2008 market crash and real estate collapse and everything. How did you personally not really get affected, but how did you react to that change? Because everybody was affected, but it was like, how did you pivot and react to that change? And then what successes did you find out of that?
Well, for me, I don't know if it was so much a reaction versus proaction. Like it
Gotcha.
was like seeing an opportunity and saying, okay, here's an opportunity where I can do, basically carve out my opportunity to do business at this particular level or at the highest level. And so what I saw was that people were in distress, more people were going to need to sell their homes, and they didn't have a viable option of how to navigate that process. Hence, we know it today as short sales, or either people went directly into foreclosure and lost their homes. And so I looked at it and said I could, be a solution to the problem and create a business model that helps these individuals avoid foreclosure. And for those that choose to let their properties go, maybe we can help them by just bringing buyers to the marketplace and stopping that process altogether and, assisting them in a more dignified manner versus losing the house to foreclosure altogether. And we purchased the property from them direct. And so I just looked at it, hey, that's a great way to be involved and still help people while also doing business. And that was really more or less my segue into the marketplace. So I just looked at it as a great opportunity when other people saw it as, hey, this is, the downfall of real estate. Woe me, the sky is falling type mentality. We saw it as an opportunity and we're really more or less proactive where we started branding ourselves and marketing to property owners who were faced with foreclosure, how we could assist them and help them navigate those waters and in results help them avoid foreclosure altogether or take the necessary steps to restructure their loan, which is known as a loan modification, which was actually in their mortgage clause. That if they were ever in a position where they were faced with a hardship, here's what their options were. And a lot of people don't know that. They just sign a mortgage because they want to buy a house and don't understand what their exit strategies are if they are ever in a hardship. So we were very much locked in and focused on being advocates for helping those individuals. And that created a business opportunity for ourselves, which really honestly led us to where we are today. Because my intentions wasn't to necessarily get into real estate and just be a realtor. I didn't want that. I wanted to actually get into business and really have a direct impact on helping people and seeing the results of that. And so we helped homeowners avoid foreclosure. And for those properties that did go into foreclosure, we represented investors that bought those homes, renovated them, and then raised the property values in those markets once those properties were sold.
I mean, that's great. And it's cool to hear your purpose and motivation behind it, because you said like you really wanted to help people get either sell their houses, get their houses sold, or just like figure out what they can do in the situations that they're in. Like
Yep.
being able to like tell them what you actually signed, because like not everybody reads the full contracts, and just giving them the opportunity to say you don't have to leave your house. You don't have to sell your house. There's more opportunities here for you to live a safe life and everything. So
Yeah.
that's a blessing for you to be that person for so many
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And one of the things I kind of want to talk about, creating that trust for not only clients, I guess I'm gonna I don't want to be rude and say everyday clients, but just like traditional clients, creating that trust. But then I want to ask a question and transition over to your more high profile clients, because not only do you have regular clients in the traditional space, but you have high profile clients in the athletes, entertainment, just well-known space. So
Mhm.
how has it been creating that trust in yeah, that trust amongst you and amongst the peers in that space in the luxury high profile market.
If you're asking me how have I been able to earn these individuals' trust, is that
Yeah,
what I hear you saying? And
yeah,
then
yeah,
maintain that? I think it's really just about being authentic, being who you are, doing the things that you say you're going to do, and being reliable and available. Because these individuals, they have a high-paced lifestyle. They have a lot of people that are trying to get in front of them for numerous of reasons, business opportunities, soliciting, whatever that may be, to get them to more or less represent their brands, or people paying them money to make appearances. So they always have individuals reaching out to them for something. And what I saw is that if I were able to enter this space and provide a high enough level of value, then over time, those individuals would, based upon that trust and having a good experience, they have like-minded peers that need those same services, right? And those would be our advocates. And so that's what I focused on, was building a business based around trust, integrity, being reliable, being available, and delivering on the things that you say you're going to do. And then also understanding how to provide solutions to the problems that these individuals are faced with, right? Privacy, discretion. I'm not someone that's like wild because you're a superstar or you are amazing. I respect what you do, but you're just like me. I feel like I'm one of them at what I do, right? It's just all that other stuff is the extra stuff that, unfortunately comes with the territory of being an elite athlete, or whether it be movie star or artist. Those are the things that they're really good at. But at the end of the day, they want to live somewhere where they can have peace, right? They can enjoy their families or whatever it is that they like to do on their own time. So having an understanding of how to help them navigate those waters, protect their interest. I saw those specific, or that specific level of representation wasn't readily available. And I use that as a way to connect with these individuals. So I think it's just that authenticity, being authentic, doing the things that you say you're going to do, being reliable, being available, all the things I just shared is what leads to trust. And once you have trust, then you have to maintain that. And maintaining trust is just, again, being respectful, treating business as business in a professional way, showing up, doing the job, doing it, not just it's done, but doing it at the highest possible level it can be done at. Um, and again, just understanding how to help your clients get what they want has led me to be where I am today. And given the fact that there aren't a lot of people that can do what I do at the level I do it at, it reinforces for the clients that I serve, for them to tell their peers, like, hey, this is the guy. If you need this level of service, if you need this done, or you need help, or you need your questions answered, this is who you go to. So building that trust and maintaining it is what I believe is one of my strengths. And that has allowed me to basically be in the position that I am today, where I have these individuals coming back or referring new people to me basically every year. And so we take a lot of pride in that. We also are very grateful for it. But I just think you really have to be about the business side, and you really have to be a professional, just like these individuals are. Yeah, you can have off nights in sports, but it's that consistency over time which builds a great career. And I treat it the same. The way I played the game, I bring that same approach to what I do in business.
Yeah. I mean, that it makes so much sense, and the hard work that you put in your business is shown, and is what the athlete, from my perspective, what the athletes see, so they respect
Hmm.
him. Like, okay, he's putting in the same effort I'm doing, so I could
Yep.
work with him. And
Yeah.
it just it's an easier conversation.
Yeah, and your track record, right? It's what do other people say about you, and that's big with these individuals. Before they even approach you, they're gonna have their people find out what other people are saying about you. What is it like to work with him? And if your name isn't amongst those groups of people that they associate with, or their peers, then it's probably going to be harder for those individuals. And it doesn't mean you're not doing things the right way. It just means that who you know is one thing, but who knows you and what they have to say about you is very, very important. And oftentimes is the deciding factor on whether or not these individuals are going to give you an opportunity and choose to hire you and work with you.
I mean, that was great. I mean,
Yeah. So I always go back to say, if you're working to get in front of, let's say, this specific clientele, or just high level people,
mhm.
how you treat people really does matter. Because at the end of the day, you may not think it's a big deal because you look at this individuals like they aren't in your level or they aren't in your class, whatever. Look, we're all out here trying to figure it out. And having kindness and being respectful to people, regardless of what level you may think that they're on and you're on, there's nothing wrong with being respectful and treating people fairly and treating people the way you want to be treated, regardless of how you perceive them to be. That goes a long ways because you don't ever know who you could offend, who you could maybe, even if you're not having the best day, how you respond to people, handle people, they remember those things more than what you say, you know. And if you don't have a track record of being someone that is respectful or treat people well, then when it gets down to it and or handling business, word gets around fast. So it's important. It's important to make sure that your name and the things that you are doing and how you're treating people are on a, I would say, up to par, and it should be respectable.
Yeah, I mean, you hear that like it's not always what you know, but who knows you. And what
Yeah.
you said was just like an emphasis on that. It's who knows you and what they know you for. They know you for your
Hmm.
consistency, your hard work, your track record, what you said. And
Yeah.
it's you showed a consistency of track record of success. So yeah, I just wanted to so I mean that's why people continue to work with you. And just jumping down or just continuing on that. Um, six one thing that entrepreneurs do, and you specifically, you continue to start and continue to start, grow, and expand. And some of like the businesses I want to speak on before we end this, Aston Rose, a company that was with you worked with Lisa Leslie on. What was it like teaming up with one of the best in the WNBA in a real estate venture? How
Yeah.
was that working with her?
That was a great experience. Unfortunately, I didn't stay in that partnership for just mutual, reasons that were more beneficial to me to be outside of it than to stay connected to it. However, it was a good experience, being that up close. She's a very respectful person. She's obviously hardworking at what she does in her profession. I see some coming. I saw some commonalities between what she brought from the game of basketball into business, and how she handles and deals with people. I definitely admire those attributes about her. And, she's cool. She's very laid back, but she is the woman that's about her business and her family. And so I feel our values aligned in that aspect because I'm the same way. I'm very passionate about my business and how I move, and how I move about, but also I'm passionate about my family. And I love connecting with great people. So from that standpoint, it was great. We did some business together. We worked on some deals together. So that was great. We had success in that aspect. But overall, man, I mean, it's a blessing to be able to work with the level of individuals like Elisa Leslie, who you admire as a kid or young, my young adulthood life, seeing her compete at the highest level in the WNBA and then be on the other side of that where it's like, okay, you're doing a business transaction and we're referring business back and forth to one another. So it was a great experience.
Yeah, and it sounds like it. And like you said, being able to watch Lisa Leslie and then to work with her sounds like just a cool
Yeah.
opportunity. I
Yeah.
don't want to take too much of your time. I did want to just speak to your time at Fox Sports because I thought that was a really cool merger between the sports world, entertainment, and then seeing how what brought you to that because I was just a little bit about me. I work in film marketing, but I also started at Fox Sports when being out here. So I
Mhm.
know a decent amount of people that came from ESPN, Fox Sports World, and we can kind of talk about that outside of this. So it's just like
Yeah. That's
I love
cool.
I love seeing that you had that you're in the radio space, that you have a couple different radio shows, and then
Yeah.
your own podcast, the All In podcast. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to, I guess my general question for all of that is where's the entertainment side and the video production or radio side where did that come from?
Yeah, man. Actually, it was ESPN that I was with, and that opportunity came by way of just someone who reached out to me in the real estate space and said, "Hey, I've got this opportunity for a radio show that I'd like you to host." And I was like, okay, well, tell me more. And he told me about the opportunity at ESPN. Now, me growing up, I didn't have no zero entertainment background. I mean, I grew up in Houston, Texas, being a cowboy, living in the city, getting the best of both worlds. However, I grew up watching Sports Center, the late great Stuart Scott, you know, who I think really put a staple and opened the door for people that look like you and I to actually be in the sports media space. And so watching hours and hours of Sports Center, and then, you know, hearing I got opportunity to be on a radio show, that was like, wow, like, hell yeah, I'll take this opportunity. And of course, I also watched Martin growing up as a kid and seeing Martin having his own radio show. It was real inspirational. And I didn't even know what I was getting myself into, but I said, you know what? Yes, I'll take this opportunity because I saw it as another way to help me connect the dots in the world that I was pursuing, meeting new people, business owners, professional athletes, just overall quality people. And so I leveraged that show's platform to invite different people onto the show because I knew I would get a lot of yeses versus a lot of nos. And then the whole thing with the podcast, as that world began to become what it is today, 6, 7 years ago, I said, okay, here's an opportunity for me to start to spin off and create content and again, leverage what I've built at that point to create my own platform and monetize it. And that was it. You know, it was like, you know, if you're going to grow your name, then grow it on your own platform, be independent, figure out how to do that. So I took the things that I was learning over at ESPN Radio, which you're starting to see a lot of athletes do now, like Marcellus Wiley, who was with ESPN and who was on at Fox over at the I forgot the show that he was on, but he had his own
Mhm.
show with a couple of other guys. First, it was Jason Whitlock, and then I can't remember the other guy that they brought on. But my point is now Marcellus has his own show podcast that he does from his home. And so
Mhm.
for me, I'm all about having equity, having ownership. I don't own ESPN. I can't make any decisions or control what happens at ESPN. I can come in and do my job and host this segment for this 30-minute or whatever, 15-minute time slot. And I have to have sponsors that are going to come in and put their money into helping me air. But ESPN is collecting all of that and owning all of that, you know, material and content. I wanted to be more on the side of where I was making the decisions about how my content was put out and displayed, and who I could have on and when and what we could talk about. You know, there's certain things you can't talk about on ESPN. Not that I would ever discuss any things that aren't professional, but you understand what I'm saying? I can cuss on my podcast if I
100%.
want to, right? I can talk about maybe oftentimes what would be considered as controversial topics that are positive and things that are going to lead us in the direction as people of color, Black people, minorities, or people that come from underserved communities can be informed and educated versus there's certain things you just can't talk about on ESPN radio. So overall, it was a great experience and I had a lot of fun and met a lot of great people. When I simply said yes to an opportunity, it opened the door for me to evolve and grow and get to where I am today by leveraging media. And I think any form of business that someone's involved in this day and age, when you talk about entrepreneurship, you should be trying to run and operate your business as if you're a media company, right? To get as much exposure and many eyeballs as you can, which is why you're doing what you're doing. And so many other great people have podcasts and have, you know, YouTube shows. And it's just a way to monetize your intellectual property, your ideas, and, you know, grow your audience, if you will, because we're in a virtual stage and there's so many ways you can learn now aside from just picking up a book and read. I can go sit and watch a 30-minute podcast and gain a lot of nuggets on financial literacy, or I can go watch a YouTube channel and gain information on how to build a house if that's something I want to do. Like right now, I would say there's nothing we can't do as individuals in this day and age. There's no excuse you can make because we have so much information readily available to us. So I just wanted to be a part of creating my own lane and putting my own content out that I could control. But ESPN definitely was more or less the birth of what you see today. You know, me being comfortable being in front of the camera, me being comfortable being on radio, developing my ability to speak, articulate my words, all of that came from that opportunity. And I'm thankful for it. And I look back on it, I'm like, wow, man, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity, man. And not only that, the show was free. Like I didn't have to pay. They brought the sponsors in and just like said, here you go, do what you want to do. And I'm grateful for that. Tim Garland, I appreciate you. That was a gentleman that connected me with the opportunity. Tim's a great guy. And he didn't have to do that. It was just a random connection. He saw something in me and was like, hey, I've got this opportunity. Do you want it? You know, and it's like, yeah, I'll take that. And I took it and ran with it. So I'm grateful.
That's cool. And yeah, like you say, it's an opportunity to take and run with and see how many doors it opens.
Yeah,
And I was gonna say one rewatching it, one of my favorite clips was just you talking to LeVar and him talking about if he was better at basketball than LeBron.
yeah, yeah,
When LeVar was doing his press circuit, everybody was talking to him and he was like the topic of conversation. So to see you have
yeah,
him on there with that just shows you the caliber of the show that you're on and the talent
yeah,
that you brought on there. But
yep,
I
absolutely.
just cognizant of the time. I know I don't want to take too much time away from you. I just want to talk about one last thing, and I felt
That's
like
fine. I got
um
time. If you got more questions, bring them on, man.
I definitely appreciate that. But I just want to make sure we spoke about the distinct concierge real estate
Yeah.
and your latest venture, a sports and entertainment real estate advisory firm, and
Mhm.
you serve as the founder and CEO. So how has it been? This is a company that you've partnered with your wife on and worked and grown. How's that process been like? Because it's a little bit different than some of the other projects that we've talked about. And I feel
Yeah.
like this one might be, I don't want to speak for you, as I said, this one might be more personal, but either way, I just want to speak to just hear from you about this company.
Yeah. Well, Distinct Concierge is definitely a company that personally means a lot. It is personal. It's something that my wife and I, through the years of being in real estate and being in business, we wanted to build a company that was a true representation of one, what representation looks like in this space, right? And two, service a distinct clientele's need at the highest level, right? And when you talk about servicing professional athletes and people in entertainment space, that is a clearly an upper echelon of clientele that a lot of people desire to work with. However, to single out that specific niche market and then to have success in it, that's a whole nother discussion, right? And it takes a high level of discipline, consistency, work ethic, and execution, right? To even just to get the attention of these individuals, let alone do business with them or have them reach out to you and do business with you repeatedly. So for us, creating Distinct Concierge was more or less our staple in the marketplace to be the first of its kind, to be the first to lead the way in when it comes to athlete representation in real estate. Because in the past, real estate agents, when specifically speaking about sports and entertainment, there was no direct focus. In the last, I would say 7 to 10 years, you've seen companies now say, hey, we have a sports and entertainment division. And that's been great, obviously, for a lot of those companies because they would control a lot of the market share when it comes to listings, which these athletes and entertainers buy. So in essence, they would continually have the opportunity to work with these people by default because they control the inventory, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And so oftentimes, instead of these athletes going to go find a buyer's agent, they would just work with the agent that's had the listing, right? Or their agent will refer them to someone who worked at Sotheby's or worked at the higher end firms. And oftentimes these individuals don't look like us. And so for us to create Distinct Concierge was making a staple to say, not only are we in this space when it comes to working at the highest level in real estate, but we cater to a distinct clientele and we provide a higher level of service than your traditional quote unquote broker, just like Compass, Douglas Elliman, who all have sports and entertainment divisions. However, I would argue to say when it comes to the level of service that we provide, when it comes to representation, because it does matter. The person that you're connecting with on the other side can identify with you. You can understand them. You can understand that you will put aside your personal interests and focus on what's in the best interest of those individuals and how we can truly help them navigate this process of owning a home, which is a lot different than just say a person who's not an athlete who does not have to deal with some of the actual pitfalls, the risk that are there, and also what oftentimes may appear to be these cool and sexy things because they're buying a house, it may not be the right thing for them at that particular time of their lives or their contract. So they need someone to be honest with them and say, this doesn't make sense right now. Right. And so building this company is personal. It also allows us to put our staple in the marketplace to be the true first of its kind that caters to this demographic and has been doing it before, right? The conception of a lot of these other companies. I mean, I'm over a decade in athlete representation in the real estate space, but I had to learn to perfect my craft. And now that I believe that I am at a point where I'm the best at what I do, we felt it was only appropriate to create a company that really caters to this niche market and continue to focus on building it out with our family. So that means my daughter's now coming on board, as I shared before. My wife's involved. She's been involved since the beginning. And now we're taking collectively our vision, our drive, our passion, our hard work, and we're just putting that energy into scaling and getting better. And obviously, as we grow and our clients are happy with our services, we know that we're going to continue to have clients coming back and working with us. So, it's more or less this is a staple of who we are, and we're now at a position where we're finally able to stand on our own and say, "Hey, we're here. We're not going anywhere, and it's only up from here."
That's great. And like you said, you're not going anywhere and there's only up from here. Leads to my one of my last questions is where do you see Distinct Concierge being in 5 years in?
Well, that's a good
Or
question.
where do
In
you want it
5
to be?
years,
Where do you want it to be in 5 years?
in 5 years, ideally, it would be unarguably the best at what we do, complete market dominance, meaning we are the first choice when it comes to California, West Coast, Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange County, where an athlete's thinking about buying a property or a home, they're calling us, they're reaching out to us. Just market dominance in this space, specifically being the best at what we do in this space. Can remember, real estate's broad, but when you break it down to niches, typically business owners have higher level success when they're more locked in on a niche group as opposed to everyone. And so we really want to be the dominant party when it comes to athlete representation in real estate. That's the goal. And then the other aspect is in regards to what we want to see in 5 years, we want to see more minority clients and also agents working at our firm and succeeding at the highest level. Meaning, just like when you turn on the TV or maybe you read the paper, you see these specific agents' face each time repeatedly in the high end sales. We want to have more agents of color faces participating and being acknowledged when it comes to representation in the luxury home space and actually earning a great living doing it at the same time and being productive examples of what it's like to be successful at this level and then being involved in their communities and having an impact. So that's something that we're also excited about that's actually happening right now. And we just want to see the growth. And that's going to take time, but that's the trajectory that we're on. That's where our focus is at, is, driving in more business from athlete clients and then bringing in more agents that look like us to succeed in this space and actually servicing more minority clients that are looking to buy high-end homes or, mid-level properties here in the city of Los Angeles and, Los Angeles County, if you will. And I would say the last thing is legacy, seeing all of our daughters at some point work at the company, and be involved in learning the skill set of representation, and running a real estate brokerage and understanding how to invest in real estate.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing, and to see ending on legacy is probably one of the biggest things because that's what's gonna last even past when you're gone, when whoever's gone is
Yeah.
what sticks with you is that legacy, and um it kind of just lends to my last question and how I felt about you when I looked when I researched more about you when I heard about you and just how other people refer to you as or look to you as. So I wanted to ask you personally, how do you feel when you hear the people refer you as the ample voice in Black luxury real estate?
I mean, it feels great. I mean, obviously the mission from the beginning was to open a door and um, when you talk about representation, imagery is important. And I feel as though over the years, the way Black men have been portrayed in society has been boxed in into these categories. You're an athlete, you're an entertainer, or you're a rapper, or you're a thug, or you're a gangster. You haven't seen successful real estate agent. You know what I mean? Now you're starting to see that. In the last 10 years, you're starting to see more people of color, African Americans, Black people, native people to this land we call America, indigenous individuals choosing real estate as a viable career path. Whereas before, when I got into the business, that wasn't the case. So it feels good to hear people obviously acknowledge me as that. That means that I'm doing my job and I'm accomplishing the goal that I set out for. So that's definitely something that's gratifying. And I, will continue to, do my part in helping bring more people into this space and help them have success by sharing information and pointing them in the right direction, or connecting them with the people that have either helped me along my journey or that can help them along their journey to success in this space.
That's amazing. And throughout this interview, I feel like you've helped, if not everyone that's viewing this, specifically me. You given me some gems to ride home with. I know there's people that are viewing this that definitely can take stuff home, whether it's from the investing side, the athlete side, or just an entrepreneur mindset. I feel like there's
Yeah,
different people, different ways people can take this and just use it in their own lives. So like I said
yeah,
from the beginning, I just really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me about this and just give people insight into what worked for you, how you created opportunities for yourself, and
yeah,
hopefully the viewers can learn from that and create opportunities for themselves as well.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I like I mentioned, I appreciate you taking the time. That was all the questions that I had for you.
Okay.
I just want to make sure people, if they haven't already, know where to follow you at.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Rod Watson 23. I'm on LinkedIn, Rod Watson. Those are really the platforms that you can find me on, where I'm at periodically. Yeah, so reach out, follow me, I'll follow you back. Or if you have questions or anything I can do to support you in your endeavors of entrepreneurship in the real estate space. I don't know everything, but I do believe I have a good network of people that I build relationships with. So if it's something I don't know, I definitely believe, there may be the opportunity for me to connect you with people within our space that can potentially help you. But other than that, man, it's been great to be a part of this. And I'll just close out with this. For people that watch this, no, you're not gonna garner all the information and knowledge from just watching this podcast. That's kind of hard to do, right? We're on a limited amount of time. But I will say this: the best investment anyone can make is in themselves. The reason I am where I am today is because I invested my money and my knowledge, attending educational classes or taking educational courses around the things that I wanted to be successful in, which is negotiations. Because in order to be successful in this space, you got to know how to communicate value, your value. You got to be able to negotiate for your clients to get the best opportunities and deals on them. So that takes education, that takes knowledge, it also takes a high level of patience, which will be the second thing. Learn to employ patience in what you're doing on your entrepreneur journey, because nothing's going to happen overnight. And the universe is going to test you for the things that you say you want. Can you endure hard times or hardships? Can you get through those things and still hold your head up high and be disciplined and still get up and chop wood and carry water, even if you don't feel like it? When you can display to the universe that you are truly committed to your journey, that's it. That's the reward. It's the opportunity that you have to be able to seize when they come, which is going to determine your overall success. So investing in yourself is the best investment you can make. And once you get to a position where you feel that now you have an understanding of who you are and the things that you want to accomplish in life, you can start looking at other things that you can invest either your time into to become what it is you're seeking to be, or your money into to basically create the type of lifestyle you want for yourself 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. But just understand, the best investment you can make is in yourself. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and be patient with the process of your overall growth.
That was perfect, and there's no better way to end it. I appreciate you taking the time as well. I'm Jeff Williams. That was Rod Watson. I appreciate you taking the time. You guys, if you guys haven't followed him, make sure to follow him, and then make sure you check out Distinct Concierge Real Estate as well. Thank you guys for taking the time, and we'll be back soon.